A growing body of research is beginning to reveal how the metabolic dysfunctions commonly associated with insulin resistance extend far beyond the pancreas, liver, and skeletal muscle into the intricate and delicate environment of the brain. In particular, the connection between insulin resistance, brain glycogen regulation, and the risk of Alzheimer's disease is gaining traction as a compelling framework that may unify aspects of metabolic syndrome with neurodegeneration. This link suggests that impaired peripheral glucose handling may set off a cascade of energy imbalances and inflammatory responses in the brain that not only impair cognitive function, but also accelerate the accumulation of hallmark Alzheimer's pathologies such as beta-amyloid plaques and tau tangles. At the heart of this relationship lies insulin's role in the central nervous system. Although the brain was once thought to be largely insulin-independent, it is now well established that insulin receptors are widely distributed throughout key cognitive regions, including the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex. These receptors play crucial roles in neuronal growth, synaptic plasticity, and the regulation of neurotransmitters involved in learning and memory. Insulin also influences how glucose is utilized by both neurons and astrocytes, and it plays a subtle but vital role in modulating the storage and mobilization of glycogen in astrocytic networks. Under conditions of peripheral insulin resistance, common in obesity, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome, the body's tissues become less responsive to insulin, forcing the pancreas to produce higher levels of the hormone. Over time, this compensatory hyperinsulinemia may affect the brain's own insulin signaling through multiple mechanisms. One possibility is that elevated insulin levels saturate or downregulate insulin transporters at the blood-brain barrier, effectively reducing the amount of insulin that reaches the brain despite its abundance in circulation. As a result, critical processes dependent on central insulin signaling, like glucose uptake, synaptic activity, and memory encoding, begin to falter. This dysfunction directly affects brain glycogen regulation. In healthy brains, astrocytes store small amounts of glycogen, which can be quickly mobilized during periods of high neuronal activity or energy stress. Insulin helps regulate the balance between glycogen synthesis and breakdown, ensuring that neurons have access to energy substrates when needed. But when insulin signaling is impaired, the delicate control over glycogen metabolism can break down. Some studies suggest that this may lead to inappropriate glycogen accumulation or impaired clearance, potentially contributing to the formation of polyglucosan bodies, abnormal glycogen-like structures associated with neural toxicity. On the other hand, insulin resistance may also reduce the availability of glucose-derived energy altogether, forcing neurons to operate under conditions of chronic energy shortage, which in turn promotes oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, and synaptic loss. The link to Alzheimer's disease becomes even more concerning when considering how insulin resistance contributes to the accumulation of beta-amyloid and hyperphosphorylated tau proteins. Insulin-degrading enzyme, IDE, responsible for breaking down insulin in the brain, also plays a role in clearing beta-amyloid. When insulin levels are persistently elevated, IDE may become saturated or diverted, reducing its availability to remove beta-amyloid and allowing plaques to accumulate. Additionally, impaired insulin signaling affects tau phosphorylation pathways, making neurons more vulnerable to the formation of neurofibrillary tangles, a hallmark of Alzheimer's pathology. Inflammation further compounds the issue. Both peripheral insulin resistance and Alzheimer's disease are associated with chronic low-grade inflammation, often marked by elevated cytokines and activated microglia. As brain metabolism becomes less efficient and energy availability decreases, immune cells in the brain can shift toward a more reactive state, releasing inflammatory mediators that impair neuronal function and survival. In this way, metabolic and immune dysfunctions become tightly entangled, reinforcing the cycle of cognitive decline. Importantly, these associations are not merely theoretical. Epidemiological studies consistently show that individuals with type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome have significantly increased risks of developing Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. Imaging studies reveal reduced glucose uptake in the brains of insulin-resistant individuals, even in early or preclinical stages of cognitive impairment. Meanwhile, animal models of insulin resistance show accelerated development of Alzheimer's-like pathology when compared to metabolically healthy controls. Yet the potential silver lining in this grim portrait lies in the modifiability of insulin sensitivity. Lifestyle interventions such as exercise, weight loss, Intermittent fasting and low glycemic diets have all been shown to improve insulin function both peripherally and centrally. Pharmacological agents like metformin and GLP-1 receptor agonists are currently being investigated for their ability to improve brain insulin signaling and possibly delay cognitive decline. Intranasal insulin, which delivers the hormone directly to the brain bypassing peripheral systems, has shown early promise in improving memory in patients with mild cognitive impairment. Understanding the relationship between insulin resistance, brain glycogen dysregulation, and Alzheimer's risk presents a powerful opportunity to bridge the divide between metabolic health and neurological function. Rather than viewing these conditions as separate domains, they may be better understood as points along a shared path of energy imbalance and cellular stress. Intervening earlier in that progression, before metabolic dysfunction manifests as irreversible neural damage, could be one of the most effective strategies for preventing dementia in aging populations. But this opportunity comes with a warning. While the brain is metabolically adaptable, it is also remarkably vulnerable to sustained imbalance. Insulin resistance may silently erode cognitive function over years, long before overt symptoms of dementia appear. By the time memory loss or behavioral changes become noticeable, significant neuronal damage may have already occurred. Therefore, addressing insulin resistance must be viewed not just as a way to control blood sugar, but as a crucial act of preserving brain structure, function, and long-term resilience.